me take you to the Works and Housing Ministry, where the Minister, Francis Asensu-Boakye, has been addressing the media on this particular situation.
I thought we should all come here so that I make a short statement. So if you are ready, let me know, then we go ahead. Are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen of the press, good afternoon. I welcome you all to this very important press briefing this afternoon. I must thank you for accepting to be here under very short notice. As you are all aware, over the weekend, the people of Keta South Municipality of the Volta region were unfortunately displaced when tidal waves from the sea swept through their homes and destroyed properties. First and foremost, I wish to sincerely empathize with our people whose properties worth a fortune have been ravaged following this unfortunate incident. I must reiterate that government acknowledges the urgent need to permanently address the devastating effect of tidal waves in the affected towns of Agavaji, Salakope, and Amichuni communities in the Keta South constituency, and indeed the rest of other communities that are experiencing similar challenges along the coastal stretch. These communities are on the same coastal stretch as Blekuso, also in Keta South constituency. This coastal stretch is characterized by narrow beaches, and effects of tidal waves along the coastal stretch can be very devastating and consequently result in beach erosion, loss of land, property, and sometimes extensive flooding in the event of wave overstopping. The erosion of the beaches also impacts negatively on fishing, which is the main source of livelihood of the communities along that coastal stretch. As part of measures to curb these devastating incidents in these towns, in July 2015, the Ministry of Works and Housing engaged Measures Amandi Holding Limited to design and construct coastal protection works along this stretch, starting from Blekuso and working towards Agavaji, Salakope, and Amichunu under the Blekuso Coastal Protection Project. The project, which protects 4.3 kilometers of coastal stretch, had the first phase completed in July 2019 and has since functioned effectively, protecting lives, livelihoods, properties, whilst reviving fishing activities. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of Works and Housing knows the sense of urgency for undertaking the second phase of the project to protect Adina, Agavaji, Salakope, and Amichuni communities and others to the east of Blekuso. To this end, the ministry has commenced urgent steps to implement the second phase of the project. The ministry has finalized the evaluation of the relevant proposals to start works under the second phase of the project. It is important to note that in April 2021, a technical team from the Hydrological Services Department of the ministry, upon my directive, traveled to the affected communities to engage the municipal chief executive and some community leaders on the matter of the implementation of the second phase. I also had the opportunity to lead a technical team to visit those communities to have a first-hand understanding of the matter and the situation on ground. It is envisaged that the completion of the works envisaged under the second phase of the project will cover a minimum coastal stretch of 8,000 meters, that is 8 kilometers. And this will surely ensure the total protection of the people of Agavaji, Salakope, Amuchuni, Adina communities and other affected communities within the constituency that continue to bear the brunt of these occasional disasters. The scope of works under the second phase of Blekuso Coastal Protection Project entails the construction of 37 armor rock drawings with land reclamation to protect 8 kilometers of coastal stretch. The ministry is currently actively working with the Ministry of Finance to raise the needed funding for the implementation of the second phase. It is important to note that value addition is critical in ensuring that a platform for recouping the capital investment is provided. Thus, in addition to protecting lives and properties, the works under the Blekuso Coastal Protection Project will protect the beaches and its environs against encroachment by the sea, address the current environmental deterioration, mitigate the social and economic consequences of beach erosion, and strengthen the economic and production base of the area through enhanced fishing and recreational activities. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, while government makes all the necessary effort to avert these unfortunate perennial occurrences, I wish to appeal to our coastal residents to avoid any practices that expose them to vagaries of the rising sea levels. There have been reported cases of sand winning, uprooting of mangrove along the coastal stretch. The investment by government cannot yield the needed protection if people continue to engage in such practices. Thank you very much, my friends for the media, and God bless us all. I think this is a very short statement. The project started and it was completed in 2019, and we've been working towards the start of the implementation of the second phase. I did mention that we've been actively engaging the finance ministry to start the second phase. I am very hopeful that the finance minister will touch on it in his upcoming presentation of the financial statement for 2022. I'm very hopeful about it.
In the meantime, as they continue to bear the brunt of what has happened, is there a stopgap measure, anything to alleviate the plight of the people?
That is the work of the NADMO. And in fact, the last time such an incident happened, we worked with them to provide some relief items to them. We are currently engaging NADMO to do same. Yeah.
Well, are we done? Okay, so thank you so much.
I'm touch money there. Make us say, a share. The Ghana has share, you know.
That's the Minister of Works and Housing, Francis Asensubwachi, there at a press conference a while ago on the tidal wave situation in the Keta South municipality. So among others, government understands the urgency with which this work ought to be done. It talks about empathizing with the residents of Blekuso, also Salakope and Amuchino, also and then raised concerns about the first phase of the project, which was completed in July 2015. He says that's the Coastal Protection Project. That's when they actually awarded that contract. And then the first phase was actually completed in 2019. He says that's a 4.3 kilometer stretch of a coastal line. That's the work that they did back then. And then also the second phase is yet to take off. They are hoping that it will take off after they get the needed funds from the Finance Ministry. And he's hopeful, even though did not mention how much exactly is needed, he's hopeful that the 2022 budget statement that will be presented by the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, on Monday, 15th November, I beg your pardon, there will be some mention of this tidal wave situation and how much exactly will be awarded to it. But we are yet to know how much is needed for the second phase to take off. And that will be an 8-kilometer stretch. And that will be also from the Blekusu area on this particular project. He also admonished those who live in those areas to avoid issues that will endanger the environment, like sun winning and uprooting of mangroves, amongst others he mentioned. So we're still watching that, and I'll take you shortly to my colleague Maxwell Ababa. But the Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Archibald Letcher, has been speaking to me a while ago on plans to support these victims.
With the Minister Chief Executive of Keto South, I'm also in touch with the MP for Keto South. The Keta MC and Amologan DC have been in touch with me. As I speak to you right now, we have not more officials on the ground doing their normal assessment, and the report is expected in a moment from now. And then I'm also in touch with the Minister for Works and Housing. I'm also talking with the NADMO, the Coastal Development Authority, and we schedule meetings this afternoon to look at the report that is coming from the ground, and then we take the appropriate decisions as to what we're going to do in the immediate term, short term, medium term. These are things that we're working towards already, but with what happened over the weekend, we need to speed up and get to the affected communities and address their immediate concerns whilst we decide on what to do in the medium term.
The Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Archibald Letcher.